Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 490. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today we're going to be doing a rebroadcast of one of our most downloaded episodes from December of 2022, titled When Your Customers Don't Pay, They Don't Pay Attention. Now, before we get to today's content, let me just share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the Ultimate Prompting Handbook for Beginners. You can go to unlockingchatgpt.com. Also, don't forget to take advantage of 3 days free access to BEB Academy, which is our online learning portal that helps you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. We have all types of resources, including masterclasses, PDF downloads, resources, and online courses to help you level up your entrepreneur game. So make sure you go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, and click on BEB Academy to get your 3 days free access. Now, let's get ready for today's broadcast. Today's show topic is titled, When Your Customers Don't Pay, They Don't Pay Attention. When your customers don't pay, they don't pay attention. So many entrepreneurs are so eager to help their customers that they're actually doing themselves and their customers a disservice by not charging them enough or not even charging them at all for their products or services. So when a customer doesn't pay, they won't value your product or service as much as they would if they had paid for it. Today, we're going to discuss why and what to charge your customers and why it's beneficial for both parties. So today's show topic is when your customers don't pay, they don't pay attention. So many entrepreneurs feel as if we have to give away all of our content and products for free just to build a following and make money. But in all actuality, that may be hurting your business and also your customers. You see, it's a common fact that people don't value what they don't pay for. It's human nature. And I always talk about human nature when it comes to entrepreneurship and life. People are just wired a certain way. And so if you can understand and predict human nature, it's going to help you become a better entrepreneur. So we all know if we didn't pay for something, guess what? We're not going to take care of it, right? And that happens all the time. I've seen people get automobiles, clothing, motorcycles. And I had one family member that got a free motorcycle. It was gifted to him, and the motorcycle was gone literally within about 2 to 3 months. He had crashed it up. And once again, what happened was there was no value attached to it because he didn't pay for it. So let me also note here, in terms of not paying for product or service. Now, if you're doing a lead magnet and you're giving away a free consultation, a free ebook or something like that, that's totally different. There's a reason for you giving away that free product or service because you're building your database, which you're going to continue to market to and hopefully convert those leads into paying customers. So I'm not saying don't give anything away for free, but you have to be cognizant and understand, how do you make your money? Where do you make your money? Many times as entrepreneurs, we think we make our money in a certain area, but we really make it somewhere else. Okay. So there are people that are tax preparers. One of my coaching consultants, clients, she's a tax preparer, but she makes more of her money on the consultation than she actually does in the preparation of taxes. And so you have to understand, where do you make your money? Okay, so, and understand what you're giving away free in the grand scheme of things. So what we want to talk about now is, why don't entrepreneurs charge people a fair price for their products or services? What is the holdback? Is it mental or whatever? But here are a couple of reasons why we don't charge people for our products or services. Number one, you may think that people won't pay for the product or service. So you may think that you have something that nobody will pay for. But it's so crazy. I've seen people pay, and I've done it myself. I paid $24.99 for 2 sheets of paper. It was an actual, I believe it was a business diagram, and somebody was selling it for $24.99, and I literally paid that for 2 sheets of paper. It was a printout, PDF download. So whatever you're selling, if it has value, people will buy it. If you're solving problems and you know how to solve a problem somebody has, people will buy it. So reason number one, entrepreneurs don't charge people a fair price for their product or service is, once again, you don't think people want to pay for that product or service. Number two, you have an imposter syndrome and you don't think people will buy from you. And really all that is lack of confidence. You know, we see so many quote unquote gurus out there, and a lot of us think that we have to be a guru for somebody to buy something from us. But in all actuality, guys, if you can get the message across that you can help solve a problem, it doesn't matter. OK, so some people have that imposter syndrome. Reason number three, you're scared to offend people by asking for money. Now, there's a way to ask for money, but if you're scared to ask for money from your audience, then guess what? You're not going to be in business a long time. All right. Every time you communicate with your audience, you don't want to always ask for money. That's not how it's done. But if it's done in a tactful way, in a way that makes sense, and you have a product or service that people want and or need, then you'll be able to make sales. And I definitely understand that concern, because I get emails from certain people that I've responded to or whatever for businesses and all that type of stuff. And they will send literally an email a day, and every email is trying to sell something. I got to remember to unsubscribe. This one cat has been sending me emails over 2 years, literally at least one a day, trying to sell something. So I got to get rid of this fool and unsubscribe. Another reason why entrepreneurs don't charge people a fair price for their product or service is that you don't think your product or service is valuable. Now, if you think that, then that's a major problem. Anything that you sell, your products or services, you have to believe in those products or services yourself. And if you don't, guess what? Then you need to find another product or service. Because if you don't believe in your product or service, that's going to be conveyed to your prospective customers. And guess what? They're not going to buy. And what we're talking about is, when your customers don't pay, they don't pay attention. Now, we just reviewed some of the reasons why entrepreneurs don't charge people a fair price for their product or service. And now I'm going to discuss why you should charge for your products and or services. The first thing that you have to understand, guys, is anything that helps people or makes them happy has value. Anything that helps people or makes them happy has value. And there are two motivating factors that every person has. They're pain and pleasure. OK, if you can move people towards pleasure or away from pain, then you can charge them. All right, let me give you an example of that. So an example of moving away from pain. So you have a tax preparation business and you can help entrepreneurs reduce their unpaid taxes. So if you have a tax liability, right, and the IRS is knocking at your door, they're sending you letters and all type of stuff, guess what? That's painful, right? But if you have a tax preparation service that says, hey, Jay, instead of owing Uncle Sam $30,000, I can probably bring that down to about $15,000 to $12,000. Guess what? That's moving away from pain. There's still pain there, but that is an impetus for me to do business. So that's an example of moving away from pain. Now, here's an example of moving towards pleasure. So this e-commerce business opportunity can help give you freedom and flexibility to live anywhere. So if I'm selling an e-commerce or any type of business opportunity, what I'm selling is the pleasure. Once you get into this business, Jay, then you'll have the freedom and flexibility to live anywhere you want and do anything you want with your free time. So now I'm selling pleasure. Okay, so those are the two motivating factors for anybody. Moving away from pain and moving towards pleasure. Now, let's talk about what you should charge your customers. Now, remember, pricing your product or service, it can be tricky. And there's several factors or things that you want to take into account. Remember that your product pricing and the perception all must be aligned to create a profitable product or service. Product, pricing, and perception. What is your product? How is it priced? And what is the perception? Okay, perception is really reality. So if you perceive a product to be high end, guess what? You'll probably pay more money for it. If you perceive a product to be low end, you're only going to pay a certain amount of money for it, and you're not going to go above a certain point. So your product, your pricing, and your perception must be all aligned. If they're not aligned, you're not going to sell. So if you're trying to sell a high-end car, a used car for $50,000 and the car looks like a piece of junk, guess what? The product and the pricing aren't aligned with the perception, right? Junky car, all right, the price is too high, and the perception is that it's not aligned because you're trying to sell this 1972 Toyota Corolla for $50,000. Now that's that's a big example, but I'm just trying to give you an idea that how your product pricing and perception are going to determine if you're going to sell products or not. Now, note, you're not selling your product or service really, guys. What most people are selling, guys, is transformational, what your product or service is going to do for that customer. So if I have a tax lien, yeah, I'm selling, tax preparation for you, and I'm going to help you get that tax lien reduced. But what am I really selling? I'm selling peace of mind. That's what I'm really selling. I'm taking this tax lien and this burden off of your plate. So I'm selling the transformation. That's what you're really selling. So it's not necessarily the product or service. That's the physical thing or the digital thing or the service you're selling. But the real thing you're selling is transformation. How does Jay using my product, what does that do for Jay? So whatever business you have, whatever product or service that you sell, ask yourself and put yourself in the customer's shoes. What does my product or service really do for my customer? How does it transform them? Does it make them feel happy? Does it relieve them? Does it make them feel comfortable? If you're selling security systems, right? You're not selling an ADT security system. You're selling peace of mind. You're selling safety. That's what you're really selling. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, what does the safety of your family and your children, what value do you place on that? Well, there is no value. Now I can go ahead and sell a higher price security system. I can't put a value on the life of my wife and children, right? So if you say $29.99 a month, that's all your wife and kids are about. But once again, your product pricing and perception have to all be in line. If you come in with this high tech ADT system with all the bells and whistles, once again, you're selling a security system, but you're really selling peace of mind. You're selling safety. So remember, what you're really selling, guys, is the transformation of using your product and or service. Now let's talk about pricing. So the first thing is, how do you determine the price point of your product or service? Now remember, there's only 3 price points: high, medium, or low, and make sure your product pricing and perception are aligned. So I just kind of gave you some examples of that. So what is your price point? Look at your market. What are your competitors selling their products or services at? Okay, whatever it is, if it's ADT and I'm going to have my own dealership and they're doing $40 a month for a basic system, then that's what I know that basic system comes in. Now, maybe I come with a premier system that's $75 a month. I have to compare that versus what my competitors are. So determine your price point of your products or services by knowing what category your products or services are in: high end, medium, or low end. Next, how much value or opportunity does your product or service provide? This is big when it comes to pricing. So the more value it provides, the more you can charge. So for example, if you sell a training program to help people become home inspectors and you tell them, hey, you can make $400 for one home inspection. So after you go through this training and we'll show you how to market yourself, you'll make $400 just for one home inspection. And that may only take you an hour and a half at the max. Now, you can probably charge $1,200 for a program like that. And you can validate that price by saying, hey, that's only doing 3 home inspections and you've already made your money back. So when you start pricing your products and services, how much value or opportunity does your product or service provide? So when somebody looks at this rationally and they say, man, I can take this training program for $1,200 and literally after my 3rd inspection, home inspection, I've made my money back. That's a no-brainer. And what that salesperson would do is obviously they'd say, hey, we're going to show you how to market your products or services, your home inspection services, and you'll be able to earn that money back within your first 30 days or whatever. So when you talk about your pricing, think about number 1, is it high end, medium, or low end, your product, service, or service? And then number 2, how much value or opportunity does your product or service provide? Now, the third component when it comes to pricing is how much money will your product or service save your customer? Now, remember, there are 2 motivating factors that we talked about, pain and pleasure. Okay, so if you can show a person that they will save money, then you can validate your product or services cost, whatever your price is. So, for example, if you sell, just say solar panels, you can say that these panels will reduce your monthly electric bill from your current rate of $450, I'm just making this up, down to $25 per month. That's a savings of $425 per month, Jay. Does that make sense? Now, these solar panels only cost investment of $10,000. So guess what, Jay? In 24 months, your investment is already recouped. You're going to be living in this house for the next 10, 15, 20 years. You're probably going to give it to your kids or whatever. So they're never going to have to worry about a high electric bill again. So once again, how much money will your product or service save the customer? So these are several different components that indicate or show you where and how you should price your product or service. So if you want to be seen as a premium product or service, obviously you're going to price on the high end. If you want to be a medium perceived product or service, you're going to price pretty much about what your competitors are pricing. If you want to be on the low end, like a Walmart, then you're going to price your product or service below everybody else's. But I'm going to warn you about that. You don't want to have a race to the bottom. Remember, value your product or service. Remember what today's title is. When your customers don't pay, they don't pay attention. Now, I want to tell you guys a story. So we're talking about when your customers don't pay, they don't pay attention. And I have several mentors, and I'm also in several mastermind. Actually, I'm only in one mastermind group now, and the other one just ended. And as I talk to my mentors, they're telling me, dude, your pricing is way too low. And I've had this conversation with this one mentor before. And my thought process initially was, hey, man, I want to make this content available for as many people as possible so I can help them level up their entrepreneur IQ. And he said, what you don't understand, and he said, I don't know why you don't understand this now, is he said, you're not doing yourself any favors and you're not doing them any favors. He said, because if it doesn't hurt, if people don't have to stretch to go into one of your online training courses or whatever, your masterminds, they're not going to do anything. And you know what? In 2022, I kept my prices as is, but come 2023, I'm going to increase my prices. And that's going to be beneficial, obviously, for me and also for people that take the program, because I spend a whole lot of time creating these programs, and I know they work because I've done them. You know, I always teach what I have done. And so the problem is when people don't pay for it, then it's easy for them not to go through and finish through with the program. So I literally can see when people take a course on my platform, I can see their status and how much they've gone through the programs. And it's astounding that, and a lot of course creators will tell you this, that the majority of the people that take these courses don't finish the courses. And one of the things is because I'm not charging enough to make them, be like, damn, I spent $997 for this. I need to finish it. My thought process was, let me break the price down, break it down in payments or whatever, so more of the BEB family can get it. But in the long run, I'm not really doing the BEB family any favors or justice, and I'm doing myself an injustice. And so I would rather fewer people that are committed to come into the programs than a lot of people that aren't committed. And so when you start thinking about your business and how you need to price and what you need to do, then that's something that you need to consider. Now, you don't want to price it where nobody is getting in, but that may be due just to your marketing or the way that you're approaching or introducing your products and or services. So there's a whole bunch of different factors that play into that. But don't sell yourself short. I think one of the factors that comes into my pricing is that the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint ecosystem is only about 30 to 35% of my income. So I don't do this, to make a living. I started it out and didn't monetize it for the first 2 years, and so then people started asking me about, hey, how do you do this? And basically the BEB family kind of tells me, this is what we're interested in. Can you help me do this? But because I don't make my living from this, my total income, it comes from my brands and my other stuff. The majority of my income, my speaking and books and all of that, then I don't have to worry about necessarily the pricing. But once again, as I started looking through my completion rates on a lot of my courses and programs, I noticed that the lower ones have a lot lower percentage completion versus the higher programs. And so in 2023, I'm making adjustments, and it's something that you may want to think about too in terms of your pricing. When your customers don't pay, guys, they don't pay attention. I've taken courses myself that may have been $97, $197. I've taken a $997 course I took and never finished it. But that also goes back to not staying on track, doing what I'm supposed to be doing versus, and I talked about this in episode 444, instead of chasing paper, I need to be chasing purpose. And when you chase your purpose, everything is more clear for you. It's more clearly defined what you need to do, why you need to do it, and how you need to do it. And when it comes to your pricing and your target market, obviously they have to be aligned. So another quick example, when I had my first mortgage business, we were basically trying to service everybody. And so we used to say in the office, it's easier to do $1 million loan than it is to do $100,000 loan. Because the people that are doing $1 million loans for their properties probably have all of their financial stuff in order. Tax returns, assets, things of that nature, debt to income ratio, where if you're just starting out and you're struggling a little bit, you may not have the paperwork or the documentation to get approved. You may not have the credit score. So if I got somebody moving from a $700,000 house to $1 million house, they probably have that in order. Okay. And so what we found, what we put in our funnel determines on how successful and how much money we're going to make. And in the mortgage business, you get paid on points, on a percentage of the loan. So if I'm making 3 points on $1 million loan, that's easier than making 3 points, which is 3%, on a $100,000 loan, which is going to be harder and more complicated and slow up my funnel. Where do I really want to focus? So I want to focus on the $1 million loans. Not that I won't do the other loans, but my avatar is what it is. So in our new mortgage company that my business partner, my ex-business partner, that's soon to be my new business partner, I'm getting back into the business. I'm in the process now of creating another mortgage company. going to be licensed in about 15 to 18 states when we start, all up and down the East Coast, California, Illinois, Nevada, and all of that good stuff. I'll keep y'all abreast of that. It's going to be a boutique shop, and we're going to focus on a certain avatar, a certain customer base, and that's what we're going to hone in on. And so once again, I'm not going to be dealing with tire kickers. So when people, like I said, when the customers don't pay, they don't pay attention. So remember that, guys. So if you have a lead magnet and you're giving stuff away for free, and you have a system, a lead generation system, that is totally fine. But if you're using your expertise and you're not getting paid for it, that can be an issue. Remember, understand where you're getting paid. How are you making your money? Now, if you're doing free consultations, that's part of your sales process. I get that. But if you're over there, like I used to do credit repair for my family and friends and other people for free. And after a while, I just got to the point where, hold on, this doesn't make sense. I need to start monetizing this. And I did it for free for my family and my good friends. But some of their referrals, I wasn't charging them, a whole lot. But I was just charging them something enough to let them know that, hey, this is valuable. And when I ask you for these documents, I need these documents. You want me to perform my services, I'm going to need your assistance. But if they didn't pay for anything, they usually were slow to respond because it didn't cost them anything. And so once again, sometimes, many times, you do yourself and your customer a disservice. So what you want to focus on are people that are serious about your business, people that want your product and your service and are willing to pay a price for it. It could be a high price, medium price, or low price. I'm trying to tell y'all to shy away from being the low price provider out there because Walmart got that on lock. All right. If you don't have economies of scale, it's not going to make sense for you. It's just like the example I gave you with my mortgage business. It's easier for me to do $1 million loan, right, and make 30 grand, or do $100,000 loan and make 3 grand. What would you do, right? And the whole key to that, guys, I don't want to divert too much, is because I had access to all types of leads because I had a lead generation system. And I'm going to throw this in real quick. When you don't have a lead generation system, you're going to be lucky. You're going to be happy that anybody that wants to do business with you, and you're going to start taking people that are not your avatar. And when that happens, then your business gets slowed down by people that you're serving that you really don't want to serve. But because you don't have a lead generation system to bring you the avatar, the type of customers you want, now you're relegated to dealing with customers you don't want. The faster you can hone in and pinpoint who your market is and be able to start generating those leads and understand that that market is willing to pay for what your product or service is, the better you're going to be. So once again, guys, when your customers don't pay, they don't pay attention, and they're not the best customers for you. Now, I say this each and every week, guys. We get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the new BlackEntrepreneurBlueprint.com website, which we want to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs, and the ecosystem, the online courses, the books, everything that we have here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Remember, guys, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.